What is up, everybody? Welcome to Tuesday, June 29th, another episode of Sports with BJ. I am your host, Brandon Johnson, as always, bringing it to you live here on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere and everywhere that we can stream this. We are streaming it because we want to get in your ears, in front of your eyes, because we're a great show. And we like to talk about a little bit of anything and everything on here. It's been a while since we've had a Sports with BJ episode. Been doing a lot of work with Brood Bets. Thank you all very much for those of you that tune in that have helped make that such a huge success. Big news coming on that Saturday. Been doing a lot of work with some other stuff in the background that we'll get to. That's part of the huge announcement for the night. But what I want to do first is introduce my co-host, and that's going to be JT of SportShift Media. JT, welcome to the show.
What's going on? How are you doing?
Living the dream, man. It's good to have you back on. It's good to have a setting where we're not talking about just gambling, because I'm fresh off of a week where I went. It just wasn't good. If you could go less than 2 wins, that's what I had. I won't say if it was 0 or 1.
But I mean, that's the whole thing, is that you and me just can't find a groove where we're both going at the same time, because I got back on the positive side of things. But we'll get it. But I like this setting where we can talk more about just sports as a whole instead of just the gambling aspect.
Absolutely. And this is always interactive. Anytime we go live, we're very interactive. And the first comment up there is from Ms. Brooke Lee. Oh my God, you shaved. Yes, I did. I would like to watch you walk around in 100-degree weather with a 5-pound beard. It is miserable. So I did. I had to shave that off and do a little skin regimen, do some moisturizing, get the skin back in shape. So we do have a guest tonight. I have a co-host in JT, but we do have a guest. For those of you that have been following the show, he's one of our OG guests, if you will, one of the first 5 we ever had on the show on Sports with BJ. His name is Link KB, aka Chris Briley. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure, man. The last time we had you on, you were talking about a transitional phase in your music career, and that led to last Friday, I believe?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Last Friday, we dropped a new album, 2% Battery, out now anywhere that y'all can find and buy or stream music. So I want to talk to you about that. That last time we talked, we were just about done with the playoff bubble with the NBA, and here we are now, NBA Finals. So talk to me about what that process was like, what that journey was like, going from that time to now, where last Friday you released an album.
I mean, it's been good. It's been humbling. A lot of things, you got to take into perspective with, the initial album release. I kind of just learned a lot about how just the industry works and the way that these numbers and stuff like that work, and crunching all that. And in all honesty, that's probably like the hardest part of the transition, but everything else has been really good because the music has been really good. So it's worked out. Like everything in life really has just kind of like fell right into place, and the album kind of just happened the way that it did, almost within like a month span, between like 3 different versions of an album. So it's been a long journey, but it's definitely been worth it. I'm glad, at the end result of what came out of that. So.
Absolutely. I know JT and I have been listening to it nonstop. And that's not just saying it because we're on a show. We don't like to lie on this show because people on the internet will come after you. We have legit been listening to the show. I can tell you right now, my favorite 2 songs right now are Amazing and 2% Battery. And speaking of 2% Battery, I've had the privilege of knowing you for a really long time. So we get to have conversations like friends, not just someone that I know that does music. And you were talking to me about something where this particular album is the first time you felt like you made your music, yet you've been at this for about 15 or so years. So can you expound upon what you meant by that?
Yeah. Like hip hop, local hip hop as a whole for me has been kind of like I feel like I have to please, or I have to do it a certain way, or, because I feel like the industry really just panders to certain types of hip hop. So it's really hard to be the version of myself that I really want to be on the newer type of things that are selling these days. So essentially what I got the chance to do is use newer types of styles and stuff like that, but be more of myself and actually have some of more like old school hip hop vibe to like the newer stuff. So it's like it's hard to like try to like blend it in like that, because really it some people don't like it and some people do. So it's it's an acquired taste, but I like to be able to do what I do. So it's nice to have an album where I didn't really worry about the perception of it necessarily at the end of the day.
So would it be fair to say that right now you're the happiest you've ever been with where you're at musically?
Yeah, absolutely. Creatively and everything like that, I think things have just broken wide open as far as what I'm capable of doing now. Especially I know, with the Rode. So
yes, sir.
That
shout out to Rode microphones. That's what he's referring to. If y'all can't see the new windscreen I got here, I posted on Sunday. I had a gift from the Matador. If you don't know, you're not privileged enough to know. So, but he gifted me a Rode, and the first person to hop up on the picture was Link KB. He said, "Welcome to the club." So it took a little bit of my thunder, but hey, I'm glad to share it with you. So I want to talk about, I know that a couple of the songs on the album had a lot of characteristics, if not even some older songs that you went back and remastered a little bit to make more of your own style. One of them would be Forrest Gump Flow. I know that that's been something you've circulated a lot, but there's a different vibe to it on this album from the past. And we were talking a couple of days ago, there are certain songs that you just had a lot of fun making that stuck out to you in a production process more than others. What was your favorite song to produce off of this album, 2% Battery?
Yeah, we had talked about Amazing is definitely the winner for that, just because of the way that the hook came together. The hook was all just a freestyle, just playing with the beat, and it turned out to really kind of just like be my favorite part of the album. So I think that was really like my favorite one to put together by far. Was Amazing as the winner for sure.
So that was the most fun to put together. Which one gave you the most headache?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think in reality, probably Fair, because of the way that the flow is on Fair. And like Fair took a few takes, you know what I mean? So there was things with Fair where I was just working it through as I was doing it, with the way that the flow was going there. So that was probably the biggest pain in the ass. But in reality, because it is one of my favorite albums, and it's because, like I said, it's a lot of me in it, that it wasn't that much of a pain in the ass to do, because a lot of everything was just like so effortless, for this one. So
no pressure, no diamonds, right?
Right, absolutely.
All right, so we mentioned the song Amazing probably, I feel like 15 times already. We've only been live for 8.5 minutes. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to play a little bit of it, if that's okay with you. Since you're the artist, it's your rights. We're going to play this live for you. We're going to play about a minute of this song, and then I want to get your feedback on the parts that we listened to. Maybe just give us some tidbits about, what went into it, what were your favorite parts of it. So we're going to do a little share here. I want to make sure I share the audio. Here we go. This is Amazing off of Link KB's new album, 2% Battery.
Spent nights in my room, thought I was done, it hurt, yeah, I cried. But one day I woke up, thought I won because I'm alive. My wife told me she loved me, I know I'm one in her life. But lately I've been feeling all this stress, trying to get this hate off of my chest.
My favorite part's coming up.
I know I feel amazing, 100% and I bet I feel amazing. High five, that's so great, shit done changed, this is my time. In the face of the game, I said I'm way too high. Catch a wave, this my vibe, I don't care what you think. Known for being funny, known for being a smooth talker, going harder lately.
There it is. Amazing by Link KB off the new album 2% Battery, released last Friday. I shared that off of Spotify, but he is everywhere. So talk to me about that song right there in the middle of the second hook, because you start off with the hook, and then you go to the second hook, hit the verse, come back with the third hook, go back. What was that part of the song? Anything stuck out to you about those particular sections?
Amazing, but in those sections, and just like Amazing as a whole, is just really about like mentally coming from like a place where I was in like a darker place with that first album, and it was like more obvious about that and everything. Amazing is just like the song that like makes it obvious that I'm not there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so I think like Amazing is just like a really honest, open, like I'm good type of song. You know what I mean? Like, so like that's why Amazing is so good for me. It just like feels good. You know what I mean? Like when I think about it and what I put into the song. So yeah, like I think that's definitely how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like it's an important song to me for sure, because that's the concept of it essentially.
And, you know, I saw something that said when an artist release an album, don't do them the disservice of listening to the songs you want to hear. The first play through, listen to it in order, because they set those in order for a reason. And the next track on that album after the song Amazing is called Growth. And I love how those two, in my mind, just from the lyrics and knowing your journey a little bit better than probably most people that are listening do, those two songs and the way that they structure and the titles flow into what is the final song, which is Power Save Mode. Right. So is there any intricate detail as to why you went from Amazing to Growth in order on the album?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like we had talked about, like, you know, I appreciate the way that you listen to music because of that, because, you know, I mean, for instance, like my wife honestly had no clue that like it was like that, like albums were that important. You know what I mean? Like I had to like explain to her and sit her down with the concept of like, okay, well, this is a concept album and this is not, you know what I mean? Like what the difference of that is and everything. And I mean, because like I've got like what essentially I'm doing with 2% battery is like a soft concept, because it's not necessarily sticking to any concept. It's just like an overall arching concept to it. You know what I mean? Like, right. So, but yeah, absolutely correct with the transition, the way that goes, because like, yeah, Growth originally Growth was actually the intro track to the album. Oh, wow. Okay. An album called Lighten Up was actually what the concept was initially. And then I think like at some point I decided I was hammering that home like way too hard. And I was like, this is just not exactly what I want to do, but in the realm, you know what I mean? So like it stuck around, but it just works so well with that transition, and then into Power Saving Mode, which is more just like I got it type shit. And I mean, in reality, Power Saving Mode was a song that was supposed to be like, you know, it just fit with the concept. The idea 2% battery came out first, and then Power Saving Mode was like, because my phone's always dead when I'm writing songs, and this is back when I had like the Galaxy S10. I got an S21 Plus now, or Ultra now, so I don't have that problem anymore. But my phone used to die all the time, and then I'd be sitting there on Power Saving Mode like, damn, how is it still alive? You know what I mean? Like, so right. like that was just how Power Saving Mode came about. When I was writing it, my phone was at 5%, and I finished writing it and it's at 2%. And I was like, all right, this song's called Power Saving Mode because my battery is pretty decent.
Love that. So if I could describe your album in one word, it would be realization. And when I listened through that album, here's what spoke to me. I saw somebody, and again, keep in mind, y'all, I'm coming from a place where I kind of know his journey a little bit, but I saw someone who realized what they were doing as an artist and realized that they weren't being true to themselves. And the album starts with Spare Time, and Spare Time is really kind of like an FU to the old grind when I hear it. Like working the you know, the late shifts on whatever job it is I can get, and doing what I got to do to at least provide while I work on my craft. And that just wasn't it for you. You knew you were destined for something bigger. And then the album progresses, and we talk about how amazing life has been and how everything's kind of fallen in, and how I just feel like I'm in a good spot in my life now, and I'm finally who I am as an artist. And then the next song is Growth, and then the final song is Power Save Mode, and the name of the whole album is 2% battery. So it told a journey of someone who was so tired from going through the ups and downs of finding out what it was they wanted. Now they know, here's a little tidbit of what that's gonna be, and then I'm out, and I'm closing that door on that last chapter of myself as an artist. That's what I took from it.
Man, that's I mean, like I don't know if I could have even said it better myself. Honestly, I might have to think about hiring you to do like some descriptions or something like that, man. Like, cause that was
if
like,
I ever need Brandon, if I ever need anything like wording wise, I'm going to Brandon. That's
yeah, solid, man. Like blew me away. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, this is my album he's talking about. Yeah, no, that's absolutely it, man. Like that's nail on the head. Like, I mean, I couldn't say it any better myself, man. Honestly.
Love it. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your music and everything you put into it. It's not a lot of real artists out there anymore. And I can see and feel in your music that you are. So thank you for that and that gift.
That's definitely what I was thinking too. Cause I used to be into a lot more hip hop, but like the way things are nowadays, I've kind of gotten away from it, and listening to you, it felt like more of like the type of music that I want to be listening to. So first time I've ever heard you, Brandon sent me the link to it. I listened the whole way through, and man, awesome. Every song hits. I love it.
I appreciate that, man. I honestly, like, my goal in music and like my ultimate goal in music and what I think I can be in the music industry is like the gap. I can bridge the gap between the people that don't really like get today's music and the people that like appreciate old school hip hop. And then, you know, I want to be the guy that kind of like brings all that together for everybody. But that's a tough task. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm sure as hell willing to try. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And yeah, you got the support of Sports with BJ here. We'll always be there to broadcast you. And speaking of broadcasting, we are live. So we got a good amount of viewers right now, but we definitely get a lot of plays after the words. So I want to give you one last opportunity to broadcast yourself. What do you want the people to know about Link KB as an artist and about this album?
I just want people to go out there and listen to it and give it a fair shot, just like anything else. That's really all it is for me. I believe in myself and what I do, and I think I put a pretty good product out there for the people. So I Link KB, go search it wherever you're streaming and check me out. That's it.
That's it. The artist is Link KB. The album is 2% Battery. Dropped last Friday. Anywhere and everywhere you can find good music, it's there. Go check it out. Give him a like and a follow on Facebook. Make sure you follow his Spotify page, his Apple page. Give the man some love. Now, when you're not working yourself to death producing fire albums, you're actually a really big sports fan. And this is all, at the end of the day, Sports with BJ is a sports show. So I want to talk to you about the Russell Westbrook Bradley Beal experiment.
Okay.
Obviously, they got to a place that they don't often frequent, which would be the playoffs, and not the bubble playoffs either. Right. I mean the playoffs. How do you feel that experiment went?
Probably as good as it could have went with the way that it started. That's really, I mean, because in reality, if they would have played as good as they did from the halfway point on at the beginning of the season, who knows what we'd be talking about right now. I mean,
about a 4 or 5 seed. That's what we'd have been talking about.
Yeah. And, they probably would have lost just the same in the first round because that's just what they kind of do. But
Scott Brooks.
But if they would have possibly been higher up there, they may go after somebody at the trade deadline and try to bolster that roster a little bit.
That is true. And I mean, I do think Tommy Shepard does kind of have like a good grasp on things for the most part, as far as like what his plan is with everything. But I don't know. I mean, I think Russell Westbrook getting traded is not out of the realm of possibilities, because I don't know what other pieces we really have that we're willing to move on. Tommy Shepard's acting like we're trying to make trades actively. And I think the only person that really anybody's trying to come after at this point is maybe Russ.
What do you say to the prospect of acquiring Russell Westbrook was a cherry on top to the package deal of Westbrook and Beal, and they're going to try and move both of them to restart rebuilding? Man, obviously you don't want to hear it, but is it a possibility?
I tell you like this, man. Bradley Beal getting traded is always a possibility because you just have to be realistic about things. I mean, he's probably at this point a top 5, top 3 scorer in the league. I mean, And
I feel like he's been talked about being traded for probably like 3 years
every
now.
year.
forever. Like they're always talking about trading him. I mean, and he constantly is saying he wants to stay, and Tommy Shepard's saying he's staying. Nobody's even talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he does have a few years left on his but I mean, it's still a possibility. I think if the right offer comes along, you know, if you feel like you're rebuilding, but apparently we're in a state where we don't feel like we're rebuilding. I'm just repeating what, you know, Tommy Shepard's saying, but you never know, you know what I mean? Like, because we're the Wizards. So
that's true. And I feel like with Bradley Beal, I feel like the reason why you always want him, or why you always hear him in trade rumors, we know what the media does, right? The media is going to latch on to some people and they're going to try to force them wherever they want them to go. And I feel like they don't want to happen to Bradley Beal what's happened in the Dame Lillard. He's in a small market. They can't seem to surround him. They can't seem to put the pieces around and make him the high-profile athlete that he is in the media's eyes, right? And I feel like that's kind of the same with Bradley Beal, is you're wasting his career. You're wasting his career. And you know as well as I do, we're both big Washington fans. So that means the football team, the Caps, the Nats, we know what it's like to have the talent and the front office and not the coach. And you made, I don't even really want to say it was a hot take because it just made so much sense.
It makes sense, right? Yeah.
So Scott Brooks is out and we've got a vacancy in the nation's capital. And you said who should be their number one and only target?
I think it's obvious we should be going after Becky Hammond.
Woo!
Like just hire her. I mean, I don't understand if it like just from like a PR perspective, if it's hard to like be the first female coach hire. I think that's great, honestly, from a PR perspective, first and foremost. But without
the nation's capital too.
Yeah, without that even mattering, I mean, she's clearly the best candidate for the job. I mean, anybody that's been Pop's understudy for how long has she? I mean, how long has she been Pop's understudy? I mean, she's been there for
6 years.
I believe it's been ever since Budenholzer. I think Budenholzer was the former guy that was just under him, and then he got a job. So that's been at least 5 years.
So, I mean, like, it's only a matter of time for somebody scoops her up anyway.
Right.
I mean, we got to open it, and we might as well just go ahead and go for it. I don't see why not. I mean, there's not – what are the other options at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the two big candidates out there got filled. So you got Jason Kidd. He's going back home. Well, not really home. He'll always be a net to me, but going back to the Mavs. And then you got, which we talked about that. No way the Mavs would have taken Becky Hammond. With as much as Mark Cuban hates the Spurs and Greg Popovich, he was not going to take Becky Hammond as the next head coach.
No.
And then the other gentleman, Chauncey Billups, he gets picked up. I mean, like you said, who else is out there? You had who did Indiana sign? They brought somebody back. I can't think of his name. That's how good of a hire it was. But but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm with you, man. Becky Hammond has paid her dues, and she would be the first head coach in the four or five major North American sports. I don't think there's ever been a female in any. You could even throw MLS in there. There's not a female head soccer coach.
That's true.
The Pacers was Rick Carlisle, by the way.
Rick Carlisle.
There you go.
Who cares?
I mean, it fits, right? I guess it works for them.
He was like 134 and 117 his last tenure. What makes you go, let's go get him again?
Might as well, right? I mean, you never know, man. We were talking about Mark Jackson, too. I know we had talked about Mark Jackson, too. I don't hate Mark Jackson as a hire.
I would love to get Mark Jackson hired again because I think he's a better basketball coach than he is an announcer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for certain. I definitely agree with that.
So what is it about Becky Hammond, other than her being yes, she's an obvious candidate because her name's been thrown around and for years now. I mean, the last 2 years, every time a vacancy comes up, whether it's assistant coach, head coach, her name's in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. What is it about her style? What is it because we believe she would have the same coaching style as Pop, and that's been successful for so long?
Yeah, I think that it's more or less just trying to coattail off of the success. You know what I mean? I think what she brings is his experience and a lot of his experience because that's what she's been, growing off of and everything. And I think that's what the assumption is amongst the NBA. You know what I mean? Is that she's going to kind of bring what Pop has somehow with probably a fresh new style. You know what I mean? Like, so who knows? I mean, because there's no way for me to be 100% certain, because I'm going to be fair with you. I haven't necessarily been keeping up with her, like with her style of coaching and stuff like that. But my thought process is the same as I'm sure as many other people that are just not 100% sure. Is like, well, she's been under Pop, so I can't imagine this is a bad idea. Like, you know, if Popovich thinks that she's that worthy, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like what the thought process is behind that. You know, you hire Pop's assistants. Like, you hire every time Belichick has an assistant go up for hire in the NFL, everybody wants that guy,
even though they're trash.
Even though they're trash. How many times with Josh McDaniels, right? How many times has he gotten hired, fired everywhere? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's still getting love. Like, they talk about him like he's a goat.
The big question with her, I think that like the mainstream media, I think their main thing is like, are guys around the NBA going to like respect and listen to her? Like, not any fault of her own, but it's just that like, are these guys that are like some of the top athletes in the game and in all of sports, like, are they going to listen to her? And I think her being under Pop for so long, I think that's had to earn her some respect. But that's the one big question that I think the media sometimes holds her back from that, because like they're like, oh, like, I don't know if that's going to work. Like, I don't know if we're ready for that yet. But I think she at least deserves a chance to make her name known.
And that's a good point. The one thing though, everyone in this room right now, everyone on this stream has been an athlete in some way, shape, or form throughout their career. Now, we're all doing different things now, obviously, and by no means are we on the level of anybody that Becky Hammon would ever coach. But I might pay the dues to go to her camp. I don't know. But the one thing that players want is someone who knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. And true athletes, when you get to the level that these players are at, there's not much more you can teach them. There's stuff you can show them on how they can be better, but understand you're not really teaching them anymore. They are who they are as an athlete. They've got there without you, especially when you start getting into 5th, 5th, and 6th year players. What they really want is someone who knows what they're doing. And they will weed that out quickly. And I think if anywhere that Becky Hammon goes, she obviously has the respect. I mean, Pop went out due to illness for 5 or 6 games. Not a single change in the way they played, not a single change in the effort, not a single change in the attitude. I actually think she had that she went out there. So obviously she has the respect. Obviously she knows what she's doing. But it is interesting because I think of Matt Patricia, right? We brought up Bill Belichick, and he's stuck in my head since we brought that up. What he did at New England is not what he did once he got a head coaching reins at Detroit.
Nope.
Like, that's the risk you run getting an understudy. Like, it's easy for me to sit here and collect these millions of dollars when all I got to do is listen to the old white guy. But then you give me my own chance. Is that person, do you think they've got the character to continue to do the same job? Yeah. And that's where I think there could be some sort of iffiness, but we'll see what happens there. Link KB says Becky Hammon to the Wizards. I love it. I think it'd be a great hire. There is no other city in the world that would work better than in the District of Columbia. Like, it would be polarizing. It would be absolutely polarizing.
Let's make it happen.
So let's make it happen, Captain. Campaign. But we can't talk about the NBA without talking about the PR stuntman himself, Scottie Pippen. My gosh, he is doubling down on everything. Now, for those of you that don't know, I know you've heard Scottie Pippen. His most recent stunt was going on the Dan Patrick Show and calling Phil Jackson a racist. I will say, though, I have read Phil Jackson's book. There are some quotes in there that are directly 100% Black people need to step their game up. And that's not Brandon. I could share some quotes. Oh, absolutely.
That's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Let me see if
I've been defending him all day, honestly.
You've been defending homeboy?
I've been defending Phil Jackson all day.
Let's see what I can find here real quick while we talk. What do you think about what Scottie Pippen's doing?
I don't know. I think Scotty is a man scorned. He's dealt with a lot of things, and I think Scotty likes to say things to stir things up a little bit. I just feel like he's just that type of person. I think he saw an opportunity to say something kind of crazy, and
I don't think it's incidental that these comments and these PR moves that he's making are coming now on the cusp of a brand new whiskey he just released called Digits, and a book that's about to come out next week.
Well, for anyone that hasn't seen it, I was going to pull it up here and share it. If I can share my screen, he actually was on the Dan Patrick show with his new whiskey in view.
Yeah. looking high as can be.
Yeah, he is he's looked rough this whole time.
Yeah.
I actually need to share this again. I was going to share it with the audio if we want to take a listen to quite exactly what he said.
So if you could play, I think it's around if you go to 45 seconds in, they start talking about it.
So let's listen from here and see what happens.
To get to those 3 championships. Wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move,
well, why would Tony, who was a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me out of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. That was Scottie Pippen's team.
But
Scottie
Phil
Pippen was on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there. So who's next in line for you?
So that clip, we did need to cut it because I'm not trying to pay $1,000 for every 5 seconds we played. But he goes on to say, well, but you said it was a racial move. So by saying that it's a racial move, Scotty, you're saying that Phil Jackson's a racist. And he says, okay. And he goes, is that what you're saying? And Scotty doubles down and says, yeah, I'm okay with that. So here are a couple of quotes directly out of Phil Jackson's book, Maverick. White players are more often willing to run patterns and to work collectively, end quote. Quote, because of the predominance of blacks in pro basketball, the sport is rapidly disintegrating into a one-on-one sport. There were only 5 or 6 NBA teams who play with more than a superficial degree of team unity. Quote, when referencing the Knicks, the starting front court played white basketball while guards played black basketball. And here to me is the most damning, and this actually goes on for about 4 or 5 pages. But this is the longest one and the one that gives the most intel to Phil Jackson. Quote, from his book Maverick, black kids growing up want to be the superstar of their neighborhood. They want to be the toughest kids on the block, the richest, or, once they get to the playground, the best one-on-one basketball players. White kids, on the other hand, usually are raised in a more homogeneous environment which provides other outlets for personal expression. They're also constantly being taught the principle of subordinating their own personal glory for the good of the group. End quote. Those are just 3 out of his own book. Those are his words, pen to paper. So I don't know that Scottie Pippen, listen, anybody who's seen any part of 90s basketball, or let's cut some slack. If you watch The Last Dance, they spent about 15, 20 minutes blowing up Tony Kukoc's you-know-what. Tony Kukoc was no scrub.
Mm-hmm.
No.
As someone who coaches basketball and loves the game of basketball, I understand the X's and O's of needing a last-second shot and having Scottie Pippen on the inbounds. Listen, if you put down the weed for 5 seconds, Scotty, you're a decoy. Everyone knows that the best way to get your best shooter the ball, if you don't think you can run the pin down screens the best, put them on the inbounds so they can inbound and come right quick to the corner and get the ball back. But it's not like we're handing the ball. He's acting like we're giving the ball to college Steve Kerr. Tony Kukoc was a good player. So in this particular instance, I don't think that play design was racially involved at all. I just think it was an opportunity Scotty used to demonstrate the statement Phil Jackson's a racist. And then those quotes come out.
And it's like, yeah, kind of. A little bit.
So,
a little bit.
So do we think, after hearing some of that stuff, now obviously, look, Scottie Pippen, do you, man. I support you. In this day and age, it's all about clicks. It's all about likes. It's all about engagement. If you can get the people going, sponsors pay dollars to whatever platform that's going on. And he has 2 platforms right now. He's got a whiskey and he's got a book. And all he's doing is promoting himself in whatever way there is. And the old saying is, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? If your name's being talked, you're talking.
Yep.
That being said, do we look at Phil Jackson a little different, or do we still think Scotty's kind of crazy?
Well, after those quotes, I look at Phil Jackson a little bit different, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I still think Scotty's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at a guy like Phil Jackson, born in the time that he was, like, and probably when he wrote the book, he was probably like an older. That book's probably more recent than anything.
Yeah.
You see, that's just kind of the culture of a lot of those guys that are around that age now. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But Scotty still airing his grievances, looking high as all can be on national TV. That's not really the place to do that.
No. And to go back to the time, because you did mention, I don't know if his book was named Maverick or not, but Scottie Pippen goes on later in that same interview with Dan Patrick and says, because Dan Patrick asked him to kind of, I guess, he was just giving more details to why he thinks Dan Patrick's a racist. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to put any other words in anybody's mouth, but he was trying to further expound upon his own thought that Phil Jackson's racist. And he said, look at what he did to Kobe. And that kind of grabs your attention because, like, hold on, like, we just got through the 1-year anniversary. Like, what are we going to say about Kobe?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what kind of man would retire, write a book about Kobe, bad-mouthing him, and then come back and coach him and win championships like nothing happened? Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I haven't read that book, but
yeah. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, yeah, because I haven't read that much. Don't start pulling up quotes from that book. Who knows?
No. But there are 2 big books on my list now. I definitely want to read the Jordan Rules. Mm-hmm. I've heard that's an amazing read, so I got to get that. I'm definitely going to read Maverick now. I'm definitely going to read Phil Jackson's book, Maverick, and I'm definitely getting Scottie Pippen's book.
Yeah.
That's what I do know.
Yeah.
So, well, Link, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all the time you spent with us. Again, Link KB is the artist. 2% Battery is the album. My favorite song is Amazing and Power Save Mode.
I didn't get to give my favorite one, but I wrote it down. My favorite one actually was Session 14. Yeah, you guys didn't mention that, but I really liked that one. The flow of it was great. I don't know if you have anything to say about that one, but I thought the music on that one was great.
Yeah, Session 14. Shout out to my boy Grant Bowden, GKB. That was his song originally. I featured on it, and he never released it, so I was like, let me get that because I liked it.
Nice.
And shout out to who's Donnie Proctor.
Yeah, man, Donnie Proctor, my boy, Donnie, man, from out Maryland. He's been an integral part of my music, honestly, as a whole. So like he always ends up featuring on the album. So yeah.
Now, did he produce this album? Is he a producer?
No. Donnie's an artist just like me, man. I mean. Most of the actual like beat production, that's MB Wave is one of the top producers like that I have up here. I got him up here, I think 4 songs. So MB Wave, Balance Cooper, and I think that's actually it. MB Wave and Balance Cooper, if I'm not mistaken, are my only beat makers for this album. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man. Proud of you on a personal level. Sports with BJ supports you on a professional level. I'm so glad for the happiness this album has brought you. I'm so glad for the happiness I can hear in the music that you produced on this album. You're going to do great things. We hope to be there with you every step of the way. Link KB, thanks for being here. 2% Battery, anywhere and everywhere music's available. Go check it out. Thanks for being here, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, what a great guy, man. What a great guy. And to also be able to talk sports knowledgeably with all he does, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Great interview. I really enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And we'll have to follow him and make sure that we keep his stuff going. And maybe we'll set up an affiliates tab for him on the website just for a little bit to help promote his music a little bit. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, definitely can throw something up there.
But in the description of this show, we did talk about Link KB and we talked about him being our guest, but we also said that there was a huge announcement that we were going to make. And that kind of leads to why we have JT with us here. So for those of you who don't know, and those of you that do, this will be a refresher. JT is the owner of SportShift Media. For those of you who have never heard that before, but have followed my page, that is the website where I've been posting the articles I've written, all like 4 of them. But we have been talking in the backgrounds, and the announcement is that Sports with BJ and SportShift Media are going to go into a merger. So I am now co-owner of SportShift Media with JT, and we will have our own media company. And Sports with BJ will be a podcast produced by SportShift Media. Why is that important? JT, you want to throw up a graphic for us?
Yes, it is right here.
There you go. So y'all all know Brood Bets. You all know Sports with BJ. You all know Press Break. There's 2 other podcasts that JT is a part of, Final Drive and Kings of the Diamond. So here's how this is going to work. Sports with BJ will still be its own podcast. We're not going anywhere. You can't get rid of my voice that easily. But what it does mean is that everything will be filtered through the SportShift Media website. Press Break, Brood Bets, Sports with BJ, all the things that you come to know my voice on, that's where that will be. And this is a big step for us. This is huge to branch out and start a media company, but we've got the traction. We're starting to get more and more people interested in sponsoring, and we just felt like this was the right time to make this move. So that's the huge announcement tonight. Sports with BJ is merging with SportShift Media. I, Brandon Johnson, will now be a co-owner with JT, Jake Thomas of SportShift Media, and Sports with BJ will be in under the SportShift Media umbrella. JT, what are we doing?
Now, I mean, this is pretty cool. We talked about it before, and I mean, it's kind of been this way all along. Like, for anybody that hasn't followed our journey, that Brandon and I just met on Facebook, wanted to do a college basketball podcast, and just decided out of nowhere to just jump on a mic and start talking over Zoom. And that's where Press Break came from. But really, from very early on, we clicked, and it just made sense now that we've grown. And shout out to the Juicebox Pod. They are doing great things too. But this was more to clean things up as well for both them and us. I know a lot of people are saying, your SportShift Media, but then you got these other podcasts that you're doing, and then they're all on the Juicebox Pod feed. And it just made more sense to kind of come together, be co-owners in this, and try to push this as much as possible. But we still love the guys over at Juicebox Pod. We're still going to work together. I know Jerry loves to get on Press Break the off season and get down with us. So we'll still be doing that. But yeah, I love having this. Everybody can just search SportShift Media by going to the website or anywhere where you want to find us, and we'll be there.
Which is another big announcement. So what does this mean for y'all? So Sports with BJ will no longer have an Anchor page or a Spotify page. SportShift Media will have a Spotify and Apple Music and Anchor and any Google podcast, anywhere you go to get your stuff normally, SportShift Media will have one of their own, and all new episodes of every show will pop up under there. Additionally, on the website, each show will have its own page where we will post the videos of each show, of the most recent show for you to watch, with a little description of what the show was about, and the link where you can go and just listen to the episode itself without the video, solely the audio. So again, the biggest change for the listeners out there of Sports with BJ is that you will now go to SportShift Media to find that out. That doesn't mean that any of my sponsors have gone away. Shout out to the Skinny Dip. Anybody that's fans of SportShift Media that is just being introduced for me to the first time, when you hear this episode, anytime you go to a Skinny Dip in the 3 locations, we've got Hanbury, we've got Providence Road, and we've got Ghent and Norfolk. Mention Sports with BJ, get 10% off your entire order. Enjoy that froyo. When I dip, you dip, we dip. That's how we like to say it up here. So nothing is changing, just the location of where my content will be found. And again, I will co-own SportShift Media. So all of SportShift Media's content will have me and JT's fingerprint all over it. And for us, that's huge. That's just a huge step for us to take. We appreciate the support you've shown our individual shows. If it wasn't for that support, we wouldn't be able to make this move. So thank you very much for that, and what we know will be continued support on your part. What did I leave anything out? Because this is a big process.
Well, I mean, I guess the main thing would be anybody that liked and subscribed to Sports with BJ. Make sure that we're going to try to transfer all the old episodes over to SportShift Media, so that if you want to go back and listen to any old episodes, you still have that ability. But eventually, that's gonna go away. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm sure you can. It'll still be found there. But if you can go over, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Spotify. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any social media that you can find us at. It's greatly appreciated. For anybody else that's in the content creation game, you know that follows and subscriptions and all that good stuff helps us grow, helps us stand out to advertisers. So we would really appreciate it if you can go do that for us as we continue this journey.
And that's a great point, JT, because at the end of the day, we want this to be something that is, I mean, I'll just be honest, profitable to us. And the best way to get sponsors, the best way to get in front of people is to get those clicks, and not to have all those clicks in every which way, but to have them in one central location to drive more traffic. So that's what we're doing. And that's where Sports with BJ is at. That's what he's had going on in the background. I say that in third person. That's what I've had going on in the background. Very excited.
Something else on the site, if you usually just listen to this podcast, we've got a lot of great articles. We're trying to write more. If we put up gambling stuff, if you listen to Brood Bets and enjoyed that, we're going to try to put up more gambling content throughout the week. So there's going to be a lot of stuff there. Anything that can pique your interest, and if you enjoy writing, hit us up, and we're always looking for people to join the team and help us out.
Absolutely. We will take any and all the help we can get. But yes, if you have any interest in sports journalism or know someone that does, please let us know. You can still find us anywhere, sportswithbj@gmail.com. You could just inbox us on the SportShift Media website, at our individual Facebook pages. Anywhere that you want to contact us, we'll take anybody that wants to write. That's going to do it for this episode of Sports with BJ. I said SportShift Media so many times. Sports with BJ. I thank you, JT, for being here again. Shout out to Link KB, local artist here from Chesapeake, Virginia. Just dropped his album 2% Battery. Our next scheduled docket is this Friday, 7 o'clock. Press break, the off season. I like 7 o'clock. I know we typically do 6:30. 7 o'clock gives time to come home, unwind a little bit, and then log on. So 7 o'clock this Friday night, we will welcome anybody and everybody. If you haven't seen last week's episode, that is actually under the Juicebox Pod right now, but you can find it.
They can still watch the video version. That is up on our YouTube channel. So
absolutely,
if you prefer to watch the videos, it gets a little wild. So the video kind of makes it a little funnier.
All right. So for JT, I'm Brandon Johnson. This has been Sports with BJ, the final episode as its own individual entity. We're excited for the future. We'll see y'all next time.